Ever start to think about, like, how we know the medicines we take are actually, good, safe?
Right. Like, we just kind of trust they'll work, but there's a whole system behind that.
Yeah. Today we're going deep on something most people have never even heard of. Pharmacopoeias
Hmm.
are like the rule books for medicines.
Yeah, exactly. They're these official, legally binding standards for pretty much everything about a medicine.
Okay, so what does that mean? Like, what's actually in a pharmacopoeia?
Well, think of it as the ultimate guide to a medicine's quality, purity, strength, even its identity and how it gets tested.
So, like, ingredients and stuff?
Oh, way more than that. Active ingredients, sure, but also how it's formulated. Like, is it a cream, a pill, an injection,
Okay.
and even the inactive ingredients, the stuff that helps hold it all together or whatever.
Interesting. So this is how, like, we know a Tylenol tablet is a Tylenol tablet no matter where you buy it.
Exactly, and it goes way deeper than that. These pharmacopoeias lay out super specific testing methods, like step by step, to make sure each medicine measures up.
And are these, like, suggestions? Or is this something drug makers actually have to follow?
These are legally enforceable standards for manufacturers, for regulators, everybody. They're not messing around.
Makes sense. So is there just one big global pharmacopoeia, or is it more complicated than that?
It would be nice if it were that simple. There are actually quite a few different pharmacopoeias out there. You have
Mm.
national ones, regional ones,
Okay.
and then, international ones too. But the good news is there's a big push to try and harmonize them,
Harmonize.
meaning like make them more aligned. That way, a company doesn't have to do totally different tests to sell a drug in, say, India versus Europe.
That seems like it would make things a lot easier.
Oh, definitely. It could really speed up global trade and, potentially even help get medicines to people faster in different parts of the world.
Speaking of different parts of the world, what about India? They have their own pharmacopoeia, right?
Yep, the Indian Pharmacopoeia, or IP. It's the official standard for all drugs manufactured and sold in India.
And who puts that together?
The Indian Pharmacopoeia Commission, or IPC. They published the first edition back in, 1955, and they're constantly updating it to keep pace with new science and, new challenges.
So let's say I was flipping through the IP. What kind of things would I actually see in there?
Well, you'd find what are called monographs, which are basically these really detailed profiles for each medicine. The drug's name, its chemical formula, what it should look like, how well it dissolves.
Right.
It even gets into the test to make sure it's the real deal, limits on any impurities, and the exact method they use to measure its strength. It's all in there.
Sounds pretty thorough. So a drug company in India, if they want to sell something, they got to make sure it lines up with the IP.
You got it. That's their Bible, so to speak. It's the legal standard under India's Drugs and Cosmetics Act.
Now, what about some of the other big names in the pharmacopoeia world? Like, what are the ones that really carry weight internationally?
Well, you've got the International Pharmacopoeia, of course, which is published by the WHO. Then there's the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, or USP.
USP, yeah, I've heard of that one.
The USP is huge, especially in the U.S., but it's really influential globally, too. And they often publish it together with something called the National Formulary, making it the USTNF.
Gotcha.
And then in Europe, you have the European Pharmacopoeia, or FEHEUR. That one's the official standard for the entire European Union.
Does the UK have their own separate one since Brexit?
They do. It's called the British Pharmacopoeia, or BP, and a lot of Commonwealth countries use it too. And then there's the Japanese Pharmacopoeia, or JP, which is the big one in Asia.
So we've got all these different rule books, and we talked about harmonization a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Like, how's that actually playing out in real life? Are there any groups working on this?
Absolutely. There's a really important group called the International Council for Harmonization, or ICH. They're constantly working on developing guidelines that lots of different pharmacopoeias can adopt, which helps a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then there's a group called the Pharmacopoeial Discussion Group. That's a really interesting one because it's a direct collaboration between the USP, EP, and JP. So they're actually working together to try and make specific drug monographs identical across those three big pharmacopoeias.
That's amazing. So what are some of the challenges these pharmacopoeias are facing these days? And what do you think the future holds for them?
Well, keeping up with the pace of scientific innovation is always a big one. Like, things are changing so fast in medicine, and these pharmacopoeias got to stay on top of all that.
Right.
And counterfeiting is a huge problem. I mean, fake medicines are a serious threat, and pharmacopoeias are a key line of defense against that.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, it's scary stuff. As for the future, well, I think we're going to see even more emphasis on electronic formats, which makes them more accessible and easier to update.
Right, it's 2025.
Exactly. And there's this concept called quality by design that's getting more attention. Basically, it means building quality into the entire process of developing a medicine from the very beginning.
Makes sense.
And international collaboration is only going to become more important. The more we can align these standards globally, the better off we'll all be.
This whole world of pharmacopoeias is so interesting. I never really thought about it before, but it's clear they play a huge role in keeping us all safe.
Yeah, they're definitely unsung heroes.
So next time you grab a bottle of pills or, whatever, take a second to think about all the work that goes into making sure it's safe and effective. There are literally teams of experts around the world working on these rule books, constantly testing, refining, and updating them to keep pace with science and keep those dangerous counterfeiters at bay.
It's a complex system, but it's one that we all rely on, probably without even realizing it.
Absolutely. It's a vital part of global health, and it's only getting more important as time goes on.